Welcome back to Old Charles, the channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of coins, history, and their real value in today's collector's market. In today's video, we're exploring a classic British coin, the United Kingdom 2 shilling coin from 1949. We'll uncover its rich history, why it was significant, how much it's worth today, and how condition affects its overall value. So make sure to watch until the end, because this might just be the coin hiding in your collection that could surprise you. The story of the 2 shilling coin, often called a florin, stretches back to the 19th century. Introduced in 1849 during the reign of Queen Victoria, it was originally intended as a trial step toward a decimal currency system in Britain. Each 2 shilling coin was worth 1/10 of a pound sterling. Although decimalization didn't happen until 1971, the florin remained an important coin in circulation for over 120 years. Now, let's zoom into the year 1949. This was the reign of King George VI, the father of Queen Elizabeth II. The 1949 2 shilling was minted in large numbers as part of everyday currency. But there's something interesting about this particular year. Unlike older British silver coins, by 1949 the florin was no longer made of silver. Instead, due to the increasing costs and post-war economy, the coin was struck in cupronickel, an alloy of copper and nickel. While pre-1947 2 shillings contained real silver, the 1949 issue had no silver content, making it a purely base metal coin. Yet, collectors still treasure it today because it represents a significant period in British numismatic history, the transition from precious metal coins to modern alloys. The obverse side of the 1949 2 shilling coin features the portrait of King George VI, facing left. Designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget, the portrait is simple yet powerful, symbolizing the strength of Britain during the post-war years. Around the portrait, the Latin inscription reads, Georgiv 6D /G BR OMN Rex F laughing face def, which translates to George VI, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, defender of the faith. The reverse side carries a detailed crowned Tudor rose at the center, flanked by a thistle, a shamrock, and a leek, representing England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. This design was by George Kruger Gray, one of Britain's most respected coin designers. The words FID Def 2 shillings 1949 surround the edge. The coin weighs about 11.3 grams, has a diameter of 28.5 millimeters, and is made entirely of cupronickel. Now let's get to the most exciting part, the value. The 1949 2 shilling coin may not contain silver, but it is still a collector's item. Its worth depends on rarity, demand, and condition. In circulated condition, the type you'd most likely find in old collections, coin jars, or inherited boxes, the coin usually sells for £1 to £2 sterling, around $1.50 to $3 USD. In fine to very fine condition, where the details of the king's portrait and the reverse design are more visible, the coin can bring £3 to £5 sterling, about $4 to $6 USD. In extremely fine (EF) condition, where the coin shows only slight wear and still has much of its original sharp detail, values range from £8 to £12 GBP, around $10 to $15 USD, and in uncirculated or brilliant uncirculated condition, meaning the coin was never used in circulation, with mint luster still intact, it can be worth £15 to £25 GBP, sometimes higher if graded by a professional numismatic service. That's around $20 to $30 USD. So while it may not make you instantly rich, the 1949 2 shilling coin still has a strong collector's appeal, especially for those building a full set of King George VI coins. Condition is absolutely everything in coin collecting. Most 1949 2 shillings you find will be well worn, because they were everyday money in post-war Britain. People used them in shops, markets, and for saving during hard times. Collectors look for coins with a clear and visible portrait of King George VI. Sharp details in the rose, thistle, shamrock, and leek on the reverse. Minimal scratches or wear. Original mint luster, if possible. Coins graded as uncirculated or brilliant uncirculated can command much higher prices because they're far harder to find. And if you get your coin graded and slabbed by a professional service like NGC or PCGS, it can add to its long-term value and desirability. What makes the 1949 2 shilling coin historically significant is its role in the story of British currency evolution. It's a coin that came after World War II, when Britain was rebuilding its economy, moving away from silver coinage, and preparing for the modern era. It also carries the portrait of King George VI, who played a crucial role during the war years and was deeply respected as a symbol of resilience. Every coin from his reign tells part of that story. And although the 2-shilling coin would later be replaced by the 10 new pence coin in 1971, the 1949 issue remains a collectible reminder of a bygone monetary system. So, the United Kingdom 2-shilling coin from 1949 may not be made of silver, but it's full of history, charm, and collectible value. Whether you have one in your old coin jar or are looking to add it to your numismatic collection, it's a wonderful piece to own. The story of the 2-shilling coin, often called the florin, is a fascinating journey through more than a century of British monetary history. It all began in 1849, during the reign of Queen Victoria. At that time, Britain was debating whether to move toward a decimal currency system, similar to what many countries were already adopting. The idea was simple. Instead of dividing the pound into 20 shillings and 240 pennies, a decimal system would be easier for trade and calculation. To test this, the government introduced the 2-shilling coin, which was equal to 1/10 of a pound. This was Britain's very first serious attempt to prepare people for decimalization. Although decimalization didn't happen until 1971, the florin continued to be issued every year, and it quickly became a standard part of everyday currency. The design of the early florins was also unique. The first one, issued in 1849, is sometimes called the godless florin because it omitted the usual phrase "de gratia," by the grace of God, from the king's or queen's title. This caused public controversy, and the wording was restored in later issues. Through the Victorian era, Edwardian era, and into the 20th century, the 2-shilling coin remained in circulation. In its early years, it was minted in sterling silver, 92.5% silver, and later, from 1920, the silver content was reduced to 50% because of rising costs after World War I. Then came a turning point. In 1947, after World War II, Britain was struggling economically. The war had drained resources, and silver was becoming too expensive to use in regular coinage. So the government decided to remove silver entirely from circulating coins. Starting that year, 2 shillings were made from cupronickel, an alloy of copper and nickel. That brings us to the 1949 issue, which was minted during the reign of King George VI. He was the father of Queen Elizabeth II, and his reign covered one of the most challenging times in British history. He became king in 1936, after the abdication of his brother, King Edward VIII. Though shy and reluctant, George VI rose to the occasion, guiding the nation through World War II. His speeches and leadership were a source of strength for the British people during bombings, rations, and uncertainty. By 1949, Britain was in the post-war recovery period. The country was rebuilding its cities, industries, and economy after 6 years of devastating war. The 2-shilling coin of this year is a symbol of that era, practical, no longer made of precious silver, but still beautifully designed. It reflects a Britain that was modernizing, adapting, and preparing for the future. The design itself is full of national symbolism. On the reverse, you see the crowned Tudor rose, flanked by a thistle for Scotland, a shamrock for Ireland, and a leek for Wales. This represents the unity of the nations within the United Kingdom. The 1949 florin also sits at an interesting point in history. Just 22 years later, in 1971, the UK finally adopted decimal currency. At that time, the 2-shilling coin was revalued as 10 new pence and continued to circulate until the early 1990s when smaller 10-pence coins replaced it. That means the 1949 coin actually lived through 2 currency systems, pre-decimal and decimal, making it historically significant. So, to sum up, the florin started in 1849 as a decimal experiment. It changed in silver content over the decades, sterling, then half silver, then cupronickel. By 1949, it was a post-war coin under King George VI, symbolizing a nation recovering and adapting to modern times. It remained useful even after decimalization, showing its importance in the everyday lives of British people for over a century. When it comes to coins like the United Kingdom 1949 2-shilling, condition is one of the most important factors in determining value. 2 coins from the same year can have very different prices depending on how well they have survived the decades since minting. Let's break it down step by step. Most 1949 2-shilling coins you'll come across were used heavily in everyday transactions. Britain in the late 1940s and early 1950s was still in the shadow of World War II. Money was scarce, rationing was still in effect, and people made full use of every coin they had. That means the majority of these coins show significant wear. The king's portrait often becomes smoothed out, the edges fade, and the fine details in the Tudor rose and surrounding emblems lose sharpness. Coin collectors use specific grading scales to describe condition. Here's how the 1949 2-shilling coin is judged. The coin is almost completely worn down. The king's face is flattened, inscriptions are faint, and the reverse design is barely visible. These coins are worth little more than face value, or maybe around 50 pence to £1, mainly as fillers for collections. In this grade, the design is still visible but heavily worn. You can read the inscriptions, but fine details are mostly gone. Many coins from this period fall into this grade. Collectors will often pay £1 to £2 for such examples. Coins in these grades show moderate wear, but you can still make out the king's features and the rose, thistle, shamrock, and leek clearly. The rims may be worn but still intact. These usually sell in the £2 to £4 range. Here, the coin has seen circulation but retains strong details. The hair on George VI's portrait is more visible, and the floral designs on the reverse stand out. The coin may have small scratches but still looks sharp. Values rise to around £4 to £6. In this grade, the coin shows only light wear on the highest points. Most of the original design is intact, with good eye appeal. Collectors prize EF examples, and they can fetch £8 to £12 or more. These coins were barely used, showing just slight handling marks. Much of the mint luster remains, giving the coin a brighter, more original look. AU coins from 1949 are less common and may bring £12 to £20. A coin that never entered circulation, with no wear at all. It still has its original shine from the mint, though bag marks or tiny scratches may appear from storage. These coins are the most desirable and can fetch £20 to £25, sometimes more if graded. Rare for this year, but possible. Such coins are flawless to the naked eye, fully lustrous, and highly collectible. If authenticated and graded by a service like NGC or PCGS, the value can climb beyond £30 to £40 in the right market. The 1949 2-shilling coin is made of cupronickel, which does not tarnish like silver but can dull and darken over time. Collectors often find these coins with surface dullness from decades of handling. Small scratches from being in purses, pockets, and tills. Rim knocks where the edge has been nicked or dented. Loss of luster, since most circulated coins no longer shine. Collectors prefer coins with a sharp portrait of King George VI, where facial features like the ear and hair remain visible, strong details in the reverse, especially the crown above the Tudor rose. A coin free of heavy scratches or corrosion. Original mint luster, if possible. Coins in high grades are not common because they were used daily for decades. That's why uncirculated examples are so much more valuable. If you have a 1949 2-shilling coin in your collection, avoid polishing or cleaning it, as this reduces value. Instead, store it in a protective holder, capsule, or album. Humidity control is also important. While cupronickel doesn't rust like steel, it can still react with the environment, developing discoloration. In short, condition is everything for the 1949 2-shilling. While circulated examples are common and inexpensive, coins in extremely fine, uncirculated, or brilliant uncirculated grades can command far higher values, especially if graded and preserved carefully.